Hi everyone, my name is Amina and I am a Gen Z.
Hi guys, I'm Simin and I'm your millennial.
Welcome to our podcast where we talk about all things and give generational perspectives over all of them. So today we're going to be talking about hustle culture. And in our world, I feel like hustle culture is super prevalent. It's everywhere.
I couldn't agree more because for me, I feel I've been hustling since I was born. Okay, maybe not since I was born, but like for sure the hustle continues. And I think it's something we need to address how it impacts us and how it's made us what we are, Like for
Yeah.
me, in all my years as Simin, how it's affected me is something that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah. So I don't know about you. I do not like hustle culture. And it's crazy because I come from, I'm currently in a pre-med track, which is just all hustle. And the fact that, these days I see that it's glorified so much, especially on social media. I am not that big of a fan of hustle culture.
Okay, what's funny is that
Uh-huh.
I understand that millennials, we are, and especially early millennials. So I'm an earlier millennial. So I'm not like the recent one, right? And we are infamous for hustling. And I don't know how far that's true, but at least like where like I've been living in Dubai, maybe I should have introduced myself a little bit. So I am of course a millennial who has a full-time job. I have a side hustle which is my social media, my channels, on like everywhere that you can imagine I'm there. And as and how any other opportunity arises, I take on that as well. So it's kind of like our tradition, let's just call it that. It's just
Yeah.
something that's built into us. It's weird, but like it's just something I'm living with and I'm okay with it.
That's so crazy that you mentioned that because I've been thinking about this a lot. And I feel like, you know, you guys in your generation and the generation that came before that, you all have such a wide variety of skills. And I feel like you guys have lived 1,000 lifetimes because even when I talked to my mom about it, she's just like, "Oh yeah, I remember when I was working as a teacher." And I was like, "What do you mean you were working as a teacher? When were you working as a teacher? I thought you were in HR." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, but I did it beforehand too. Like I worked as a teacher." And I was like, "Those are two such like different jobs." And
So if
it's
I
just
tell you like about all of us, let's just call us jack of all trade, master of none. Yeah, it's the reality. It's the reality because for me, I've been in advertising, I've been in sales, I've been in marketing, I've done stock trading, I've
oh
done
my
everything.
gosh. Oh my gosh. So you really
Yeah,
did it all.
yeah, more or less. Like if I have traded in stock market, like I think that's like a big achievement. And that was nothing related because I actually studied marketing and designing and things like that, which was very advertising related. And then I deviated, and that's not just because of habit or something I wanted to do. It was out of necessity.
Okay. But how did you? Because so I live in a world where job description and like, qualifications and everything is like it's huge. Like you can't get a marketing job unless you've had like a degree or like an MBA or anything. So how do you think that's like? How was it back then?
Oh no, it was really different. So back then, education really did not matter that much as long as you had some form of formal education, whether it was a diploma, whether it was your degrees. Some people were also just high school educated and then like just started working because of necessity. So I guess we are okay with doing all this because even for me, for that matter, I started working when I was only 17.
Oh
That's
my
because,
gosh.
yeah, I had to earn to pay for my education. So I actually had a full-time job, and then I used to go to evening school, you
Oh.
know. And while I was full-time working, doing the evening school or college, I was doing my driving lessons and got my driving license. I had like so many other things I was handling at that time. And it was, again, like I said, it was not because I wanted to do that. Ideally, I would have just wanted to study and enjoy my, university life. But
Yeah.
I had to take evening college because of necessity, because I had to earn to, sustain our spending. Plus, in Dubai, like even after you got educated and things, as long as you were a quick learner, if you could
Mm-hmm.
grasp things, anybody would just hire you because the job market was big and there were a lot of opportunities, let's just call it that, and the personnel or
Mm-hmm.
the talent was less. As
Mm.
opposed to now, it is opposite. So now you have fewer jobs and way too many candidates for the same job. So now I
Yeah.
would say that opportunities for people like us, unless you were very specialized in something. Now this is a one-off thing, right? Maybe this could be just people I knew, my family. Um, Maybe there were other millennials, or at least the newer ones, the
Yeah.
more recent ones. They actually had like a very targeted job profile and everything, because by that time things changed quite a bit. But I'm talking about like old school millennials, like myself,
Mm-hmm.
where we actually had to hustle our way through everything.
That's crazy. Do you think hustle culture has changed over time, considering all of this?
It has. Like, first of all, back in the days, we didn't have like mental health awareness. It was actually insane,
Mm-hmm.
because mental health awareness now, as much as it's more focused where people actually consider it to be a thing. Back then,
Mm-hmm.
it was you just being spoiled, or you just being uh, a drama queen, let's just call it. They used to call us,
Yeah.
like, it was very insensitive back then. So if you would just complain about stuff, it was just something that was okay. Now it's not. Also, in my generation, like, besides the fact that mental health was not considered a thing at all, we were
Mm-hmm.
always taught to be very hardworking and disciplined, as opposed
Mm.
to thinking, being smarter and thinking of better avenues to make money and things. So we were taught to like actually like work really hard, be very very disciplined, earn your keep, collect money, work life
Yeah.
balance was like not very healthy, and we were all, to be honest with you, okay with it. It's just been
Yeah.
recently that these things are being recognized as something that hurts you. So I definitely do feel, because I see the newer generation. First of all, the education system has become more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Counseling has become more accessible. So you have
Yeah.
a lot of guidance as compared to what we had to go through. We were not given any direction at all. Our parents came from a generation those were Gen X, or before, what was before?
Mm-hmm.
Boomers, like they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. It's from that generation where they literally, all they thought about was working hard, having a family, settling down, owning a property, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if you come from a background which was not well to do, especially,
Mm-hmm.
you had to hustle. There was no other choice. Now, I think families are more settled, you have better investments. Nowadays, a lot of people have their own houses. Back then, we were like living rent to rent, things like. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, now as well, some of us are struggling with that.
That's interesting to see how it's changed over the years, because I my definition of hustle culture is like a lot different. Like in my generation at least, for us it was always in school. It was always the pressure to do well. It was
It's
always
good.
the pressure to like get the best grades, get the best extracurriculars, get the best college application and do well. And that kind of it was like a different type of pressure. It was this pressure that like you need to make something of yourself in the long run. Like, does that kind of make sense?
So that has not changed because we went through the same thing. I remember in my household,
Uh-huh.
we were expected to come first, second, or third in class. If you came
First,
fourth,
second, third.
yeah, if you came fourth, which is a big achievement, but not
Yeah.
for us. No, if you did not come on the podium, if you were not on the podium, it was nothing.
Yeah.
So it was, and it was not even like your final exams or something, even your midterms and things like that, you have to just like achieve, uh, like be
The top score.
spectacular. Yeah, top
Yeah.
scorer. You had to be out of the top three. Things that you're supposed to enjoy, for example, like you said, your extracurricular of sports, your we had some weird weird competitions. We had singing, painting,
Oh, I see.
dancing, and we had to excel at every. I sucked at dancing, so I
Uh-huh.
used to never get any accolades in dancing. Singing, I croak, I don't sing. So it was such a struggle, but people were worse than me. So somehow
Yeah.
I used to win like accolades in these as well. I was good at some creative stuff, so. But I
Mhm.
remember we had some very strange activities.
Competition. You know, when you said
Yeah.
that, right? So for the viewers, the first 10 years of my life, I lived in Dubai. And
Oh yeah.
now I'm here in America. And the thing is that in those years that I was in Dubai, I studied at an Indian school. And I remember there being these extremely weird school functions. Like, and the thing is that, I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be the person. Like, we had this one girl, and I don't know why I think about her sometimes because I wonder where she is right now. She was the on top of it. She was great in academics, great in sports, great in like the arts. In our school plays, she used to get like the main role, and she was
Can I
just
say something at this
perfect.
point?
Yeah.
Your mom was that girl.
No way.
Your mom was that girl in school.
Stop.
She was the person we all were compared to. Not just me in my house, it was girls in school were like compared to her. Your mom was the head girl,
She was this.
ultimately.
She was?
She was the head girl. She used to come first in every class. She would sing, like she could do everything right. She was
Yeah.
like the person who did no wrong.
See, that gene, I think I missed out on. Right? Like, I don't
You probably
think
got my genes.
I got your gene.
And I like that we're laughing about it and not like crying about it right now.
Because it's so true. It's so valid. Like, um, that gene, I think my sister got it.
Yeah,
She's like,
100%.
she was prefect on her way to head girl. She was
And she's
getting
very
there.
competitive as well, right?
She is. She would like sports competitions and all of that stuff. Like I remember there was one time that somehow, okay, I got chosen for a table tennis competition. And it was just because that day it was a good day for me and I performed really well. But I remember they didn't tell me when the competition was. So I remember one day they just picked me out from the assembly and they were like, okay, this is a competition, play it. And I got 0 points. I didn't even hit back. And I was just like, the hand and eye coordination was not there at all.
Okay, I was pretty good at sports.
Sports?
I was
Oh,
supposed to.
dang.
I was meant to be someone in sports. This is what I feel. I was not meant for academics. I was so bad at that. You would put me in something artistic or sports or something, I would excel, but
Mhm.
not in studies all that much. I was forced to. So I did excel.
Yeah.
I did
Mhm.
not become head girl, but I was house captain and things like that. So I did have my accolades. But
So, do you think, looking back at this, do you think that that kind of pressure was helpful?
I guess
I know it's
yes.
a very loaded question.
It's a very loaded question because
Yeah.
there's so many things that there's so many people who had roles to play,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the day, I feel happy of how it molded me into becoming a certain person.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I could have done without all the stress in my early years, which has made me, I guess, like a lot of impact I had was to try and excel in too many things. That did
Yeah.
not help because, as I said, jack of all, master of none. If you are focused on something specific, you will end up like excelling in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mental health was not good. I
Yeah.
actually had instances where I was giving exams and my hand froze and I had to be taken to the clinic. That
Oh,
was that was actually a breakdown. Like my
that was
body
just
crashed. Yeah.
Oh, so that was like a pure stress response then.
Stress response. My hand got stuck while writing,
Uh-huh.
and I was trying to write, and I just could not. And I started crying because I thought I got paralyzed because I was stupid.
No.
So I thought I was like, my rest of the body was moving except for my hand, you know. And then I started crying, and my teacher had to rush me with my pen in my hand. She had to take me to the clinic. And then I rested, and then, yes, I had to give my exam still. But
Yeah.
after I rested a little bit, I was given an extra hour, and then I actually finished my examination. That kind of pressure is never okay.
Yeah. But I see it a lot in social media where there's this trend that, okay, hustle, 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 don't stress about it, don't feel the pressure, just kind of put it aside. And that's what I mean by hustle culture, right? Because it's one thing to work towards your goal, healthy, in a healthy manner. But there's this like notion that, oh, just stop thinking about everything and just like, I don't know, like just blaze to your goal. And that is the thing that I don't agree with.
First of all, it's unrealistic because you
Mm-hmm.
cannot have everything, and you cannot
Yeah.
just not stress and just trailblaze your way to glory. Like, it just does not work that way, you know? There's
Yeah.
so many factors, everybody's different, first of all. We all are individual beings with individual minds. Our power of grasp is different, our environments are different, our are different, our traditions and cultures, the way we live is different, opportunities are different.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everybody just saying, like, just hustle your way and it's great, don't take stress, blah blah. Please, stop.
Yeah.
Especially like influencers who are like falsely promoting this. It's
Mm-hmm.
no, it's not okay. This is something I absolutely disagree with.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with you because it's just like, okay, there's one thing to work towards your goal, not give up, don't fail. But I think today's day and age, we've kind of put such a negative connotation on the word hustle because we think of it as, oh, just get through it. Just get through it. But that's something completely different we're talking about. That is, then we're talking about suppression of negative feelings. We're talking about just, you know, always progress because success, they say like the road to success is not linear. You're gonna have days where you go down, right? You're gonna have
Let's say
days.
for example, let's say
Mhm.
for example, sorry. Let's say for example, you're planning to become a doctor, say, for example,
Mhm.
yeah? You have a pathway. You have made a plan, everything is going perfectly fine, you have kept yourself focused and targeted. This
Mhm.
is the point where it's all well and good. But now there are like different lanes that start adding to this pathway of yours where there's comparison to other people, whether it's somebody you don't know on social media, whether it's somebody in your class who has like completely different set of skills and probably support and everything. That kind of comes into the picture. Then
Mhm.
there are a lot of, I feel like recently, especially, I've noticed in colleges and stuff, you have uh, extra things that you need to do, which is actually not necessary. Like, I'm sure you'll be able to speak about it more, but why can't
Mhm.
you just like become a doctor and it'd be okay? Just specialize in that. But no, you must do like all these other little thingies. So those
Yeah.
pathways join, and then you have your family that's pressuring you. So those things join, and now you're like, sorry to say, your mind is like all messed up, and you've like kind of these things have created blockages in that path that you had created for yourself, which was very, very clear. And
Yeah.
if everybody just supported you towards that path, you would have probably excelled and not been that drained, burnt out. Like, after some time, it just becomes like, do I really need to do this? Is this worth it? And that's the point where, like, even if you push yourself, is it really worth it then?
The minute you ask that question, I feel like you just kind of lost the battle.
So, like, I have a question for you where, like, I told you about myself where I started, like, working at the age of 17 to pay for my education and everything. I know it's like, I'm sure it must be a little different, but how was it for you? Like, from getting admissions to, like, moving forward, studying. I honestly don't know what you went through because, like, we're in two different countries. So I would like to understand that as well. And I'm sure the audience also wants to know, your perspective.
Yeah. So It's actually a lot different compared to what you went through because at 17, I remember 17 was like a pivotal time in my life. It was, we have to take the standardized exams. I'm sure you've heard of it, SATs.
SATs, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's the thing that you use for college admission and all of that stuff. I was studying for the SATs. I had to worry about my college applications. And the thing is, for me, right, I wanted to really cement my decision about going into medicine. So I think I went out of my way to really explore my options and everything. So I was doing a lot of extracurriculars. I remember like even my friends were kind of just doing everything they could to make sure their application was great, make sure they get a good SAT score. And at like in the middle of everything was COVID.
Oh, shoot. Yes, I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
dealing with that because suddenly like the whole family was indoors and like I was cooped up in this room and I had to figure out, okay, how do I make my application stand out and everything. And the high school that I went to, honestly, it was a little too much, where
Oh.
students were doing too much. People left, right, center were starting organizations so that they could show
So,
that, oh,
like, proper hustle.
yeah, like it was crazy. Like, you know the TikTok sound where it's just like, right? Like, and it's just like that, that literally, that whole year just felt like that. It was just, okay, here's this opportunity, grasp it. Okay, here's this thing, grasp it. And you had no time to think, do I really want to do this? Is this something that I'm genuinely interested in? It was just, no, this sounds really good. And let's just go for it. And I just remember thinking that, like, it was too, I remember being chronically overstimulated at
Oh
that
my
age.
gosh.
And at 17, you feel like the decision I make now is going to be the decision I have to stick with forever, right? It kind of feels like now or never.
Yeah, yeah. But did
So,
you guys have like counselors and stuff to assist you through all this, or not really?
so we did. It's just that they weren't that good.
Oh no, yeah. See, this
Yeah,
is, yeah.
that's the thing, right? Like, it was great that we had that support. But the thing is that technically the counselors can't say much in terms of what you should do with your life, basically. There are options, there are ways you could figure out, the career that you want and everything, but the question still stands of how do you get there?
Right.
How do you get into that program? What programs do you even need to do? In that sense, I feel like we were just kind of left in the field and just run around, figure it out because
Mm.
I did not know anything about college applications. And also, just when you have people around you panicking, I don't know about you, but I'm that kind of person that just panics. If everyone around me is screaming, I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
scream, even if I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
no
yeah.
reason to.
You absorb their energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had just become that. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? I need to figure it out ASAP. So it was that kind of a hustle.
Do you think there's any kind of financial, social, or cultural pressures that makes Gen Z people start hustling at a very, very young age?
I think there is. I think
Okay.
there definitely is. I would say that, because my mom is your sister, like she also had similar experiences. So she tried to kind of unlearn that,
Mm.
like those expectations that probably your parents had on you guys. She tried to, also just make sure it's diffused for us so that we don't feel that kind of a pressure. But I feel like on social perspectives, it does come. Like, because of social media, we've talked a lot about social media and how it just glorifies this type of a hustle that, do as many things as you need to. As I had mentioned, like, even in my high school, like, everyone was just, like, running around like headless chickens, just trying to do
Yeah.
whatever they could. And I would say that our society does have a problem with this.
I remember you telling me a story about the uncle.
Oh my gosh. So I also have overachieving older sister. So, so the thing is that, you know, and I'll never hold it against her. You know, she did what she wanted to do, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
great for her,
absolutely. Yeah.
right? But everyone else was just kind of like, okay, what are you doing with your life? And then I used to be like, okay, yeah, my path is really similar to hers. So it used to always be compared, like people always assumed I had it easy. People always assumed that why are you going into the same, like she's already doing that, as if it's just like I need to do something different to diversify the pool.
I don't know if these people, do they think they're being funny or do they think they're being smart? Like,
I
at this point,
don't
I just want to
know.
ask them a question. What did you do? What did you do with your life? You're like,
I remember like the uncle that you're talking about, right? He had asked my sister like, okay, what are you doing? And then he asked me, and I told him also like, because my sister's also like in medicine. So I told him like, yeah, I'm also, you know, I'm also thinking of going to medicine. And he's just like, why are you doing that? You what you like she's already doing that. And I remember looking at him and I was just like, why not? And he just stopped talking. And I was
that's a
like,
good
why
answer,
shouldn't
actually.
I
Yeah.
do it? Like,
Yeah,
please tell
yeah.
me.
Yeah, I don't know
Because
what the point is of them like making comments like that. Like, what do you know about my life that you're commenting on something like as if it's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and let me choose. Like, you
yeah.
do not think about anything at all. You just are like, oh, okay, medicine, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that it could either, this type of pressure could either look like that, or it could look in like, oh, why don't you do something else? Why don't you do more? You know, your sister's already doing it. Why don't you do more than this?
Yeah.
And even if, say, like, this doesn't necessarily apply to careers, it could apply to even just hobbies. Like, do more. Do something that you will actually use. Do, you know,
Yeah.
learn a skill, learn a language.
Like,
And
it's
this
like
type of,
been there, done that with the elder sibling. Like, okay, been there, done that. Now you do something different. Like, impress us more.
yeah. People think that a hobby also needs to have skill. Like you need to learn something from a hobby, but that's not necessarily it. The whole purpose of the hobby is
To
do it
enjoy
because
us. Yeah.
yeah, like leisure, you know?
Yeah.
So and I think that's where hustle culture comes in. Always do something that is productive. In that sense, I see it in my generation where extracurriculars, you're taking it, you're not doing it because you're interested in it. You're doing it because either to learn something or just because it looks good. And that's where I think we just kind of fail as a society, which is it's a very like strong thing to say.
No,
If you're
I couldn't agree more because I feel like it
Mhm.
hasn't changed. Like, imagine like 2 decades later, and it's still what's going on. It's the same. Like, I'm hearing the same story repeat, but I
Mhm.
feel in your case it's a bit worse because you have like a lot of social media, a lot of more comparison, a lot of new things that you need to get better at like technology or whatever. Like, you need to learn like a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
For us, maybe it was a little bit more simplified, like because everything was just progressing. But in your case, like, I feel, especially with point of, I think like both our generations had their up and down. Like, we
Mhm.
had no concept of mental health. That was like a big deal for us. I think
Yeah.
all of us who got screwed up in the head happened. This was one of the big contributing factors, you know,
Yeah.
because always being compared to other people, always being pressured into doing something either you don't like or because you maybe you liked it and because you had so much pressure on you, you stopped enjoying it, you know?
Mhm.
And you were always told to outdo everybody, and that's not healthy, you know, that's not healthy. There's no need of comparing yourself to any other human being because you can be yourself. You know, you cannot like shine brighter by dimming somebody else's light. Like, that
Yeah.
concept needs to be like just like left in a different like planet, like
Universe.
literally, like you know, like throw it out, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do feel like both our generations are still going through this culture where we feel it's a necessity. You can't
Yeah.
escape from it. It creeps in
Mhm.
like one way or the other, and that's like, yeah,
It's that's so interesting. And like I feel like no matter how hard you try to fight it, you always feel that need to always be overproductive and to always be like use your time wisely in a sense, right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's just it's that notion that always look at people above you, don't look at people below you. So we forget to see actually how far we're coming in our hustle, you know? And I think that's where a lot of the issues rise. Like there are people who want to be in the position that you are in right now. And that
That's
kind
a
of
very
like,
beautiful, it's a very
yeah,
beautiful way to think, but unfortunately,
it's,
if you like write like this mantra on your mirror and while you're brushing your teeth, like you should read all these pointers, like
yeah.
a lot of people wish to be where you are, but you're wishing to achieve something else, and it's never going to stop. Even when you achieve somebody else's spot where they are, you will still look at somebody above that and be like, oh, I need to get there. And
Mhm.
when does it stop?
Exactly. Exactly. When does it stop? The thing is, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't. Do you think that this can be unlearned? Or are we too far
I,
gone?
I think we are a little too far gone. I'm being very honest. I'm not trying to be a pessimist or anything,
Yeah.
but unless it has to start from the root, so it has to start from the house, where I'm sure, like when you have kids, you will, just like how your mom is mindful of how she is raising you, you
Mhm.
would be even more mindful because you've learned a lot of things. You've faced your own traumas and you've faced your own struggles, which you will not want your child to go through. So you will, and sowing that seed, even teaching your kid from that level that
Mhm.
you're not being compared to anybody else. You do your best. That's enough. You are enough. If they struggle through something, talking to them, like it has to start from base level, and that's from the house, but also external factors at that age when there are teachers involved, the kind of friend circle. There are many things you can't control,
Yeah.
and so it has to be like from everywhere, which is why I feel it'll take generations to achieve this kind of where everybody is satiated, satisfied by
Yeah.
just being, I hope you're understanding what I'm saying.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it,
no, I totally get it.
yeah, yeah.
I couldn't agree more because it is kind of a effort that needs to be done by everybody. Like the rise of social media is not helping at all.
And
And
people tend to forget that people only show their good side, only their best versions on social media. Like you and me, we are on social media. We are not like the biggest
yeah.
personas or anything like, on social media, but I'm sure like we do have influence on a lot of people. But even when we put our uh, posts or reels or videos on socials, we show put our best foot forward.
So like after this whole discussion about hustle culture across so many generations, what do you think that we can do in the future to prevent this from becoming worse than it already is right now?
I think it should start like internally from everybody. If everybody just starts focusing on personal progress as opposed to external success or
Mm-hmm.
trying to get external validation. I know it's not easy, it's easier said and done, but everybody has to start from somewhere, and it has to start immediately. Like I think it should have started like last decade or something, but it has to
Yeah.
start now where like from the parents have to sow that seed into their kids. People who are already like us, like who are at this age where we need to start implementing it in our lives as well, where we give our physical being, our mental health first priority. I know like we need to like earn a living or we need to excel at stuff, but there's absolutely no need of like putting so much pressure on ourselves where waking up in the morning and you don't feel happy.
Yeah.
That's a red flag right there. Like the day you
Mm-hmm.
wake up and you're like, I'm not okay, or I don't feel like doing this, I don't, that's a red flag. One day I can understand, but like if it's going on for weeks, then there's something wrong, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we need to seek our own validation that we are doing well. You should, I feel, have a path and stick to that path and not let these external things bother us. I also feel like social media plays a lot of part in like messing us up.
Mm-hmm.
You start getting like fear of missing out. You're like, oh, this person is doing this. I need to start doing this. Why is that necessary? That's the question I need to ask. Is that am I doing that to make myself happy, or am I doing it for external validation, or am I just trying to compete with somebody else?
I think we have to teach ourselves what internal validation really means, because that is when you're going to stop caring about what people are thinking, what people are saying. That is just like a game changer, because it's so easy to be swept up with what other people are saying. It's so easy to compare yourself because we're just naturally wired that way, because that's all we've
Yeah.
been seeing, that's all we've been learning. So I think just learning about self-esteem gonna be the key to how you preserve yourself and how like with this whole thing, I feel like we tend to get lost. We tend to forget who we are. Our identities are like half baked because we don't know what we're interested in. We don't know what
Anymore,
we
yeah.
like. Yeah, like I couldn't tell you, like when you talked about the whole instrument thing, I don't know if you remember, but I had a music streak. I was
Yeah.
really into
Weren't you learning the trombone or something?
the saxophone.
Saxophone, not trombone,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, that like I used to love playing instruments, but I kind of lost that because okay, now I have to get real. I have to like focus on my career. I have to focus on, getting those grades, passing this exam, that exam. And like you kind of get lost. Like that part of my identity is like far back in the past. We need to make sure that okay, yeah, you're focusing on the right things, you're focusing on the important things, but you're also preserving that part of your identity, those parts that you enjoy, that you have fun with, because that is so important, just to have that mental break from hustling so much.
I think you have made a very important point too, that it's about being purposeful
Mm-hmm.
and mindful. I think these two things, if you have a balance within yourself where you're being mindful of actually understanding why you're doing certain things, are you doing this for like comparing your lifestyle or making your lifestyle equal to somebody else's lifestyle? Or like, is it going to give you any kind of value? Is it going to add any value to your life besides the money?
Yeah.
Once, like you said, you're internally validated, you will not seek validation elsewhere, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
this is the part where, again, mental health also comes into the picture. If you feel satisfied with yourself, if you're not feeling depressed in life and everything, you will always feel satisfied. You will feel like waking up in the morning. You'll feel like going out and achieving stuff. So it's all interconnected to each other, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think you need to work on that wheel because that's your own personal wheel and it should not be touched. It should not be touched by anybody else. I think this is a great point to end our podcast for today, for this week. In the comment section, please let us know if you have any suggestions to the other viewers, to us as well. You heard our experiences, our traumas, our problems, our issues. Your suggestions will be super helpful. So do let us know your experiences and your suggestions in the comments.
And every week we're gonna be here. We're gonna be talking about so many different topics, and we'll give our 2 cents being a Gen Z and a millennial. We're super excited for this. This is very new for both of us, and we've
Yeah.
been talking about it for such a long time. Being that she's in Dubai, I'm in the U.S. So I think it'll be really interesting to see, and we really hope to build our community and to have you guys with us in these discussions. So with that, we will see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.